Your lipstick is really the best.
I'm trying to, you keep talking. I'm trying to. Hello, everyone.
Is it time?
It's time. How is everyone doing today? Well, welcome to. We do know the name of this show, guys. It's Sunday Bites and Tidbits.
That's right.
I've been trying to turn this phone off. And because we're talking, she's picking up what we're saying, and I can't. Oh, you know why? Because it's a new phone.
She got a brand new phone. She don't know which side the button's on.
And now it's off. See, this is why technology and me, we should be in different parts of the world.
Okay, so we're going to start over. It's still 6 o'clock.
Yes.
Welcome to another episode of Sunday Bites and Tidbits with myself, Chef Babette, and my beautiful co-host,
Terrah Bennett Smith. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
And today, I'm so excited about today's show.
Yeah, me too, because knowledge
is power.
And today we're really going to give you guys an opportunity to ask a lot of questions.
Yeah, we are.
So before we start, though, and we bring on our special guest, we want to remind you that, did I say special glass?
You did.
Bring on our special glass. You know, that's what happens when you drink water. Anyway, before we bring on our special guest, we want to remind you that coming up, we have Reclaim Haven, our new platform for workshops and things like that. So we're going to keep reminding you because soon we're going to have some giveaways. Some fun things to give away. Anyway, so, and also coming up later in the show is our little Sunday Bites and Tidbits, beautiful Tiani Chanel. And she's going to talk a little bit about her find for this week.
I know. She's going to be finding stuff every single week. And then she'll come back and she'll teach us what she learned from her find.
And hopefully you'll learn something.
Exactly. Because we learned something
we learn something from every show. At least I do. You know, I learn something from every single.
But can I talk about our guest, our other guest?
You do it.
This is one of my favorite people on the planet. His name is Dr. Baxter Montgomery.
Mm-hmm.
I met him at an event that Chef, what's her name?
India?
No, not Chef AJ? India. Chef AJ had given this event out south in LA, and Doc came all the way from Houston. That's when I first met him, and then he had an event in Houston. He invited me, and we've been friends ever since. I just love this brother. But what I really love about him more than anything is the way he runs his practice. And you guys are going to have an opportunity to meet him, ask questions today. Like I said, a cardiologist, one of the best cardiologists on the planet, and it's but saving lives without a bunch of medicine.
Without a bunch of medicine that you need to take medicine for.
Yeah, he's teaching. He really is teaching you what humans are supposed to do in terms of nourishing themselves and how we do it. And
he's not. One second, and he's not. He's actually helping people.
Yes, he's saving lives.
So for all of you with, you know, when you say high blood pressure runs in my family, diabetes runs in my family. Now you have a chance to run it out the door and learn some new tips that could actually save your life. Because I have a friend of mine, you know, her whole family was dying of cancer. She's like, I don't understand. And I said, well, are y'all all eating the same thing?
Exactly.
Well, yeah. I said, well, maybe you want to start there. But that's a fun concept.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I get it. You know, when you're used to eating something
and
living a certain way, that's your way. And years ago, you know, the grandparents and things, they were not dying as quickly because the food wasn't as tainted and poisoned as it was.
No, that's true.
Before, you know, I mean, as it is now.
I don't think we were as gluttonous as we are today either. We eat a lot today
because we have a lot more options.
Well, and it's a lot of it is it's like access. We have so much access to so much crap. But the
crap is filled with crap.
Yeah, there you go.
And chemicals. But without further ado, why don't you bring them in?
Oh, yeah. Can we please introduce Dr. Baxter Montgomery? Hey, Doc.
Hello. Hey, how are you doing?
I'm wonderful. How are you? Thanks for being with us today.
And he's got on his doctor gear.
Yeah, he said.
Huh? Well, my tuxedo's in the cleaner, so I had to put my stuff in.
Wouldn't that be funny if you showed up at your office in a tuxedo to cure people? They'd be like, all right now. Showing up all dressed up, black tie.
They wouldn't recognize me for sure.
You good?
Yeah, I'm doing just great. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you just fine. So we want to welcome Tina's back, some of our favorites. Our Gail is saying hello. Tina. So I know people are starting to log in. So this is going to be a great show. Wow, we already have quite a few people watching us already. But anyway, we wanted to say welcome. And Babette, why don't you start?
Well, see, Doc, what we really like to do, we're so challenged right now. You know what's going on in on the planet today with COVID and everything. But there's what's that?
I don't know.
You hear a click?
You hear somebody's echoing all of a sudden. Change something.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we hear you fine now. The echo's gone.
Okay.
It was picking up something.
But with what we're going through right now on the planet, and Doc, you and I have spoken before, and that's why I want you to just address. Just talk to us, Doc.
Well, you mentioned
There's so much we need to know, and we're all messed up over COVID, but we're sick about a lot of things. It's not just COVID.
Yeah. Well, just by way of introduction, you probably have done this. I'm Baxter Montgomery. I'm a cardiologist in Houston. And, my specialty is cardiology. I deal with cardiac electrophysiology, deal with heart rhythm disorders of patients. And, I've been in private practice for 23 years. And, we manage patients with advanced heart disease, but also a lot of other chronic illnesses that, predispose people to heart disease, such as high blood pressure, diabetes, inflammatory diseases and the like. And so, our practice is pretty broad because we do natural things at Montgomery Heart Wellness. We see patients who have other chronic illnesses, including cancer and other chronic inflammatory conditions. And so it's a broad scope of practice and so on. You talked about COVID-19 and obviously we're in the pandemic and lots of people are nervous about this. The coronavirus infection is a viral infection, and it's very similar to other viral infections. Coronavirus is a part of a family of viruses. There are some coronaviruses, that are part of the common cold and other types of viral infections. And so, like any viral infection, or I should say any infection, an infection is a stress on your body. And I think we should think of it as a stress on the body. The body has its own immune system, which protects you against foreign invasions, such as viruses, bacteria, or other things. And so typically, or what should happen if you get an infection or a foreign invasion, the body's immune system, if it's functioning normally, will then put up a defense. It will recognize the foreign substance, a foreign agent, in this case, a virus, and then it would do things. It has a frontline defense, which is your mucous membranes, and there's hair in your nostrils and other parts of the body that sort of protects you as a frontline. Even your skin is part of your immune system. And then if that agent, bacteria, virus, get past the front line, you have immune cells that then recognize it as foreign and then attack it. So viruses typically have to go inside your normal cells to replicate, to reproduce itself. So typically what a virus does, it gets into the mucous membranes, and so it gets into your cells. And so if one of your body's own cells has a virus, it then may send out alerts, alarms to your immune system, which will then recognize that cell, and it will program that cell to either kill itself or kill the virus or not replicate, and so on and so forth. So it's a fairly complex process. If the immune system is working well, then you should actually be able to defend yourself against any of these agents. You may get a little bit sick, and oftentimes when we get sick, you may be familiar with getting flu-like symptoms. You get fever, chills, body aches, headaches, and the like. Well, that's your body's immune system, sort of like a systemic reaction to a foreign agent. So just think of it this way. If you had somebody to break into your neighborhood, so say you had a neighborhood defense team, and let's say somebody break in your neighborhood, maybe they're down like 3 blocks over, but you had a defense, a security system, and that security, they have cameras, and they've got security guards all over, and those guys break into the let's say it's a gated community. So they break in, and all of a sudden your security reacts, and then maybe your security guards start shooting at them. Maybe they shoot back. So you would start to hear, gunfire, and then maybe there's some smoke, and maybe there's some other tear gas and things like that. So there would be like a systemic reaction to a local attack, and that's what your body's immune system does. It attacks something foreign, and so there's a fight, if you will, between your body's immune cells and the virus or bacteria, whichever agent is trying to invade. Now, a strong immune system will kill it, and then it will create an identification system, maybe antibodies or T cells that has a memory, so that if it comes again, it's going to be more alert to attack it and defend it. And so that's where you develop an immunity to something foreign. So when the body's functioning normally, then it's going to put up an effective fight, and you may get a little bit sick, but then you won't get too sick, you won't die. But what if the body's not functioning normally? What if your body is loaded with lots of toxic chemicals? We call them reactive oxygen species. The fancy medical jargon is not that important, but just a lot of toxic chemicals that's weighing your body down, is stressing your organs, is stressing your immune system. So then the immune system is not as normal. And so then the immune system may be weak, so it may have a delayed response, or the immune system could be drunk. If the immune system is drunk, it can overreact to the infection and not only try to attack the virus or bacteria, but it may attack your own organ's normal system.
Really?
And so a drunk immune system will overreact and cause an autoimmune response that can make you sicker than you should be otherwise. And a lot of these people are getting very sick with this coronavirus. They're getting sick because their immune system, in many cases, is overreacting. And so there's an autoimmune process. It's creating a lot of havoc. So let's say if you call the fire truck, you got like a little barbecue pit, and your pit, gets a little bit too hot, and there's a little extra smoke. And instead of the fire truck sending one truck over, they overreact. They send 10 trucks over.
Right.
They flood your whole house out. They tear the building down just over a little fire. But that's an overreaction because, they overreact because maybe they're drunk or something like that. The immune system can do the same thing. And so that's what can happen. And that's how a lot of these people are getting sick. They form blood clots all over because it's a systemic inflammatory process. Wow. You may have heard the phrase cytokine, storm. So these are the types of things that can happen. So it's related to the unhealthy immune system. So one of the things you want to do is put your body in normal biochemical balance and improve the health of your immune system as well as the other organs.
Wow. Okay, that's the first time I've heard all of that. I mean, because I've had friends who've had, several people I know have had COVID. One friend has been in the hospital. They had to induce a coma for a very long time. I want to say 100 and something days. And then another person, I found that most of the people I know who had the COVID who didn't go in the hospital fared better than the people who were in the hospital.
Yeah. And that's kind of a two side of the coins, because the ones who have to go in the hospital typically are sicker than the ones who don't. And then being in the hospital itself can to sometimes make you sicker because you're in the hospital and,
you're not moving, you're just
not moving, no fresh air, sunshine, and that type of thing. So, yeah. And then also there's a depression. You're not with your loved ones because now they're not letting family members visit in the hospital and so on. So there's some compounding issues.
Okay. Well, anybody have any questions? But this is a question that someone wanted to ask you. Please explain the difference between a typical heart attack and a cardiac arrest. Are they both caused by eating animals?
No, that's a great question, actually, because let me start with cardiac arrest. Cardiac arrest, as the name describes, the cardiac, it arrests, the heart stops. So there's a sudden stop in the heart, a sudden death. Now, sudden arresting of the heart or sudden stopping of the heart could be due to multiple reasons. More often than not, when someone goes into a cardiac arrest or suffers sudden death, they just drop dead and then you start CPR. I think a majority of those patients are suffering from an electrical problem. That's a short circuit from the heart, and then they drop dead. And then you have to shock them out and then resuscitate them and then determine what the underlying cause is. A heart attack is a sudden occlusion of an artery that leads to sudden death of heart muscle cells. So typically what happens, you have arteries, blood that's flowing through arteries, and you may have a plaque. And a plaque in the artery is sort of like a pimple. I mean, if you've ever had, young people have acne. If you ever seen one of those juicy pimples, it's got a little thin coating, and you just kind of touch it and it pops open. Well, that's what happens inside the artery. You can have a plaque that's like a juicy pimple, and blood's flowing through, and it has a thin layer, and it pops. And when it pops, the inside of that plaque, or in this case, the skin, it's a pimple, but inside the plaque, the artery, it gets exposed to the blood. When that gets exposed to the blood, it causes a chemical reaction right there to cause a blood clot to form, and it typically shuts off that artery right there due to the blood clot forming. So that's a heart attack. Now, sometimes a heart attack, which is a sudden stopping of blood flow, it leads to heart muscle damage. Now, sometimes that can cause cardiac arrest. If it's a big enough heart attack, it can cause enough damage to where the heart muscle wall ruptures, or it can cause an electrical storm in the heart to cause sudden death. So heart attack can sometimes cause a cardiac arrest, but a cardiac arrest is not necessarily secondary to a heart attack. I hope that helps.
So how does that tie in with diet? Because not part of what you do is you help people move through, hopefully avoiding it through diet. How does that thing start? And tell us a little bit about your program. And just so you know, guys, for those who are on now, we're going to keep saying it. Up at the early part of the scroll, we have some discount codes for Dr. Montgomery's detox. Some of his programs. I'm going to put it in again at the end, but just scroll up and get all the information. But continue. Tell us more about your program, how you got that started.
And about the food, that was
about the food. And food.
Yeah. So basically, what happens is if you think of how the body gets sick, I mean, it starts with just an imbalance. Your body is designed to maintain itself and heal itself, etc. But what happens is that you can get imbalance, and it starts with biochemistry. Biochemistry is certain chemicals that are in the system that's not balanced. I mean, if you think of a recipe, maybe it's a very delicious, casserole. But what if you just put, too much salt in a casserole, or maybe you put too much pepper, something crazy, then it becomes unbalanced and it doesn't taste right. Well, the body has a chemical balance that has to be maintained. And so what happens is that if we're nourishing the body with the right type of food, the food that's designed to be in our system, then it maintains balance. Well, the food that's designed for us to eat are plant-based foods that are not overly processed or fried or chemicalized, etc. When we start to consume things that's not meant for consumption, or I should say not ideal for consumption, maybe it's, fried animal protein, or maybe it's something with chemical preservatives or dyes and things. All of these abnormal chemicals get in our system. Now, our liver is very good at trying to neutralize or stabilize these things. But if we're consuming these bad foods on a regular basis, they get into our cells, they get into our tissues, and it puts things off balance. And so whether the liver's off balance, or the heart muscle, tissue off balance, then the body starts to compensate in ways that's not healthy. So if you look at the blocked arteries, the liver gets unbalanced. And so maybe you're producing too much cholesterol. There are too many chemicals that's causing inflammation. So the body's immune system's constantly being triggered to attack these foreign things. Remember, I talked about the immune system, and there's an autoimmune process. But if you're putting something foreign in your body, for instance, like, chicken legs, well, the body says, well, we're not a chicken. And so you're putting that in your system. It's being exposed to your immune system. You're triggering inflammatory reactions every time you expose your body to that. Or maybe it's a chemical dye. So your body takes a pounding day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, to where then it starts to form imbalance. So if you're genetically predisposed to form heart disease, then you're going to develop plaque. Now, the genetics do not cause it by itself. The genetics is just a predisposition. It's a blueprint for disease. You need to express that blueprint, and the expression of that blueprint is the abnormal lifestyle, which starts with bad food, lack of sunshine, fresh air, lack of exercise, moving. All those things contribute to it. But food is probably the most damaging thing that we do to our bodies on a regular basis, day in and day out.
An example of bad food?
Well, animal proteins, for instance, because animal proteins we know have chemicals on it that trigger inflammation, and inflammation is not healthy for us. Fats, oils, fried foods, all of these things can cause damage to cells. processed carbohydrates. And many foods that have lots of chemical preservatives and things like that can also be damaging as well. So, lots of people may eat a vegan diet, but they're eating vegan junk food. And it's like the food is chemicalized, a lot of toxins and things on it. So, you want to eat natural food as close to its natural state as possible.
And that's why people really need to get into the habit, if they're not buying fresh food, fresh produce, they need to get into a habit of reading the ingredients, because they put a lot of crap in the ingredients. If you're eating out of bags and boxes and cans and jars, you really need to check the ingredients on those.
That's right. Yeah, and it should be simple ingredients. I mean, it's okay to eat some things out of packages, but you need to make sure that they're not packaging a lot of foods and stuff.
Yeah, that's the hardest part, is people, we just eat things.
We eat a lot of chemicals.
We don't even know how to pronounce it.
We can't even pronounce the stuff.
That's
And
right.
isn't there also, could there be an issue? Say, for instance, you're eating more than one food out of a package, and they all have chemicals in it. Should all those chemicals be eaten together? I mean, we don't have that kind of knowledge on a daily,
Yeah, and the combining of foods and things. And typically what we have our patients do, if you have a health issue, then what we do is we break it down to the simplest component. We put them on a raw plant-based diet. We'll detox them over a certain period of time. And then we'll let the body heal itself, and then go back to eating something that's, what they're more comfortable with, without excess junk. And so sometimes with our patients who have advanced heart disease and the like, we may put them on a raw diet for several months, allow the body to heal itself, and then add cooked foods and add some foods that they like without the toxic components of it. And we teach them how to prepare foods in a healthier way. So, if you're cooking beans, lots of people put turkey necks in their beans, but you could put fresh greens and herbs and seasonings, and there are a lot of things you can do with your bean soups, for instance, that can make it healthy and delicious. And so we work with people.
But we are such creatures of habit that we pass down the same recipes, not even thinking that you don't have to put, neck bones in your drink. Just don't, and it's tasty. I was looking at a friend of mine had a menu out. It was everything that you could imagine that, Thanksgiving dinner, like everything. And greens soaked up with water in a pot. I was like, well, there goes. It was like that was the vegetable that had no nutritional value in it. So talk a little more about how you started your program and.
But before you do that, would you do me a favor, since we were talking about animal protein? I think people are very, very confused about secondhand protein. Do you really get protein from a dead animal? I mean, I know the animal eats the protein because of their diet. They're protein first.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we get protein from the air. There's so many foods that we can eat that give us protein outside of eating dead animals. Talk about that right quick, and then maybe answer. Terrah.
Yeah, I got it. And I like the way you use the phrase secondhand protein, because you're right. By and large, all nutrients originate from plants. The exception may be vitamin D from the sun, although you can get some from mushrooms, fresh air. There's some other things that are fresh air that are beneficial, direct sunlight, water. Of course, water is also in plants as well. So really, all of the nutrients that you need are in plants. Now, people talk about B12 deficiency. That comes from the right type of microbes. That's more of an environmental or natural ecosystem. So in other words, typically because we're indoors and we're washing our hands all the time, we don't have the right type of bacterial flora most of the time to create enough B12. The soil is not as rich in B12 in most cases. People may fertilize their soil and those types of things. So B12 is more of an issue of not having the right type of bacterial flora. Vitamin D is more of an issue of not having enough sun exposure or fresh air exposure. But other than those two nutrients, we get pretty much what we need from plant foods. And so protein in particular is something that we really don't have to consume animal protein at all. Kale, spinach, and broccoli have more protein per unit calorie than fish, chicken, or steak. And so also the plant foods have all the essential amino acids in which your body makes your protein. So if someone asks you, where do you get your protein from if you're consuming a plant-based diet? The answer is I get it from my liver, because the liver produces the protein you need if you give it the right type of organic substances. So that's really what it is with protein. When we got, when I started my practice 23 years ago, I always had an interest in wellness. And so I started out a very busy cardiologist, seeing patients in the emergency room, doing, overnight procedures and the whole bit. And over time, my health got bad from working long hours, cholesterol went up, and whatever. And so I had to start making changes. I didn't want to take statin drugs and the like. So I started doing my own research, reading books outside of the typical medical literature. And, you read all these natural cures. As one of my patients came in taking a bunch of supplements. He was seeing an herbalist. I went and met with the herbalist, and, she had a lot of concoctions and things like that. So I started investigating things on my own. I just happened, and I don't really remember how I came about doing this or why, but I happened to go take a weekend crash course to get a certification as a raw vegan chef.
I remember that.
So in that weekend crash course, I got a lot of information about plant-based nutrition. And I met this man, John Rose, here in Houston, who was a guru in juice feasting. And so I met with him. This guy had books on everything. He was a CPA by training, didn't go to medical school, but he seemed to know more about food than anybody I'd met. And so anyway, we talked for a long time when we first met. So I took his juice feasting coaching class. And so my introduction to plant-based diet was a 33-day juice feast, which I felt great after that. And I said, this is amazing. As I started, I said, well, eating vegan is easy. And, I didn't have any problems with it, except I was eating vegan junk food. And so every year I would do a juice feast, and I noticed how much better I felt on the juice feast than when I ate the regular vegan food. And then I realized, okay, there's a difference here. And so I eventually developed what's called a food classification system, which rates food not only based on whether it's a plant food or animal food, but also how you prepare it. So, fried chicken may be right next to fried okra because they're both fried and processed. So we have to look at how we prepare food and where it comes from, in addition to whether it's plant-based or not. And so that was the concept that I developed over time. And then after doing the juice feast, I started applying this to patients. Of course, I had to deal with my mother, who had health problems, and she died. And taking care of her, further enlightened me. I mentioned this in my book. She really taught me the most important lesson in my life in medicine and on her deathbed. And so that was another big impetus, which really motivates me every day today to really help my patients get better. But I started applying this, this natural eating to our patients. And one thing that really amazed me was that the patients got well every time they followed the program. It wasn't most of the time. It wasn't some of the time, every time. And then, of course, of severe heart, and we see severely ill patients. I had one lady who was on a life support in the hospital. She had a PEG tube, and we started feeding her green juices and green drinks through the PEG tube with superfoods in it. And I was able to wean her off her meds, and we detoxed her in the hospital, and we got her out of the hospital. And so we've seen people with severe illnesses start to turn the corner and get better as long as they follow the program. But we have to develop programs to give them support. Following a raw detox diet is not the easiest thing in the world if you're not familiar with it and you've never done it before.
Right.
Yeah. And so that it evolved. So the need of our patients and the desire evolved. So we had boot camp classes when they needed more support. We then created like a wellness membership, and they would come get recipes and all of that. Then they said, look, we can't make the recipes, we want to buy the food from you. Then we have to create a restaurant, and a raw detox restaurant in the office. And now it's expanding into a grocery store. So we're getting to where we're expanding to where we're going to control all of the patient's food, because they really need to have that. Because grocery stores, you go to grocery stores, it's like a landmine. What's healthy, what's not.
Exactly.
And so
Brian, I want you to make sure that our listeners really understand what you're saying. You have this available to your patients in your office, in your practice right now.
That's correct. Yes. And what it is patients that come, and we get patients that fly from all over the country. We get some international people. And they'll come and detox with several times. They get patients from the East Coast, West Coast. They have heart disease, kidney disease, cancer, various things. And we'll have them detox, and we have all the food there. We can ship food. We're starting to get where we can ship things. And so that's in the next several months, we'll be able to ship meal plans and grocery plans. And that's the vision. Really, it's the concept we have is the food prescription. The title of my book is The Food Prescription for Better Health. It's on Amazon. And it talks about the concept of how we prescribe food, but it really, utilizes the detailed approach of applying food in a natural way.
Food prescription.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm writing it down, so everybody. And please make sure you guys go back up to the scroll. I'm going to put it down again. He's got links to his detox for discounts. He's got workshops. He's got a lot of wonderful things going on. Check out his website. And if you want to get healthy, visit him and follow. And I have
MontgomeryHeart.com. So just remember my last name Hart.com. MontgomeryHeart.com is our website. We have an online boot camp, so many individuals who are not able to come to Houston can actually go through our detox program on our online program. So that's online.montgomeryheart.com. And if you can remember Chef Babette's name, the correct spelling, all caps, you can get a discount on an online program. I think it's going to be good for about the next 24, 36 hours or something like that. So.
Yeah, go check it out. So let's address this about the oils and water and confusion and.
Yeah. Are you reading? And so she cooks with grapeseed oil, mainly sauteing onions, garlic. A lot of confusion with oil. She's still cooking. So what I recommend to my patients is that you avoid the oils. Even if it's raw or cooked, we avoid oils. Here's the thing with oils. You really don't know the stability of the oil. It's not a whole food. And when you extract the oil, you don't know the stability of it. If an oil is inside the seed and the seed has not been heated or microwaved or anything, then that's when the oil is going to be in its best condition. So if flaxseed or grapeseed or whatever, eat the whole food, eat the seed. Now, what we have people do, we may have them grind it and say you're going to make a smoothie or something. You can grind it in the smoothie, but grind it fresh and use it, fresh. So like sometimes the individuals use ground flaxseed. We don't say pre-grind it. Grind it when you're about to use it. So you want to put flax seeds in your smoothie, grind it fresh, put it in the smoothie, and then drink it. Because you want the oils and all the things in the seed is going to be stable inside the seed. So oils can be very unstable, they can become rancid. And we have a lot of clinical experience when patients, they're doing well on the diet, they add a little bit of oil, the blood pressure may go up, the inflammatory reaction get worse, cholesterol will go up just with a little bit of oil.
Wow. There's another question here about the keto diet and the
I saw that. So the keto diet, basically it's animal protein. The keto diet is not too far off from the Atkins diet. It's really animal protein. It allows animal fats. They're greens, and it's really a low carbohydrate diet. The benefits, if you can say there was a benefit to the Atkins diet and some of these other low carb diets, is that they remove the heavy processed carbohydrates. And you want to remove heavy processed carbohydrates. In other words, you're not going to eat fried potato chips or French fries and those things on those diets, and those foods are good. And so if you remove those things, you're going to have some benefit from that. The problem is that those diets are not very healthy because they allow other foods that are toxic as well. And so you want to have a natural plant diet that removes the animal protein. I've had many patients come to us who've been on the keto diet. Their cholesterol is elevated. Their inflammatory markers are elevated. Many of them have bad arthritis. There are a lot of problems that they have because the animal protein diet, they increase your reactive oxygen species. And these are just a fancy term meaning abnormal chemicals that are damaging to your body's organ. And so it's very problematic.
Okay. Another question is, does that apply to coconut oil too?
So we tend to remove coconut oil as well. Coconut oil is more stable under heat and theoretically should be okay. However, again, it could become unstable due to the light and various other things. We rather you consume the whole coconut meat or coconut butter, coconut meat. It's the whole food in it. So if you scoop the components out of the coconut, you're going to have there's the fatty part to it, and that'd be the coconut meat, and it has the fat. So you really want to eat the whole coconut, the coconut meat / coconut butter, which is the main component of the coconut.
So let me ask you this. So when someone comes to you and they have, heart issues, or the program is they stay there, or how does that work? Like if someone's mom or someone is really sick and they want to get to you.
Yes.
They would have to move there?
Well, so what we do, it depends on how sick they are. So for instance, and we get people who call in and they're in really bad shape. We got someone coming in. We get people coming, throughout the week with issues. We had a patient come in from the East Coast. This patient had bad heart failure, refused transplant. And we got to us, his kidney was pretty much failing. He had not seen a doctor in months. And we had to hydrate him, detox him, did all of that. Had he not gotten there, have he gotten there about a week or two later, he might not have made it. And we get people that sick, and we get other people who are very ill. So if they're very ill, typically what we do is we have them get an Airbnb and plan to stay about 6 to 8 weeks, where we can manage them there, because we do the whole spectrum. So if they are so sick they have to go to the hospital, then I'll admit them to the hospital in my service, and I'll put them on detox in the hospital there as well. So again, we integrate the therapy. So it's not like, some places you go and maybe it's some spa, someplace, and you get your massage and raw foods. We do, well, I don't know about massage, but we do raw foods and all of that. But some people are so sick, they have to have the intensive medical care at the same time that they're getting the nutritional part. And so that's what makes our program unique.
So let me ask you one other question, and then we're going to get a couple more questions if people are waiting. So because this is kind of new way of doing healthier alternative, medicine. How does that fare when you are in a condition like you have to check someone in the hospital? How do you keep feeding? Well, yeah, because their way of doing things is so different. Do you get any pushback? Have you had a lot of pushback? How?
Yeah, so I can't say what people say behind my backs. What I can say is that
tell them to come over here.
I have a unique advantage. So as I kind of alluded to, and I didn't really point out, when I started my practice, I was a traditional cardiologist. So, I'm in an area where, I practice with my colleagues, and I was doing all the invasive things, et cetera. I mean, I still do, that type of management. I don't do the invasive hospital things. I have colleagues that work, that do them for me. So I gained a level of respect, for the hospital. So as a board certified cardiologist, cardiac electrophysiologist, I was practicing at a very high level of specialty, subspecialty, subspecialty. So I gained a level of respect in the community among my colleagues. When I started practicing in this direction, people may have looked at me funny, but one thing I've shown is that we have publications showing the benefit of what we're doing. And there are a lot of my colleagues who I've invited to conferences and the like. I've given grand rounds to the cardiovascular surgeons at my institution. I've given grand rounds to OBGYN doctors in the local area. And I've given grand rounds to psychiatrists, and other institutions. And so I've shared our data with my colleagues. And interestingly enough, after giving I remember my first grand rounds I gave to a group of OBGYNs, excuse me, my colleague who invited me to give grand rounds, we were just talking the evening before and says, well, I don't think these guys are going to really buy into this because, they're very traditional. Well, lo and behold, during my presentation and toward the end, these guys peppered me with all sorts of questions, very similar to what the general public asked me. And I was, putting my things together. A couple of doctors followed me to my truck asking questions. And 2 of them were in our restaurant later that day. And then 2 or 3 of them were in our boot camp class. And so, I was really surprised at how well they adopted it. 2 CV surgeons after the second grand rounds I gave came and did our meal plan And so there's a lot of adoption. There's a vascular surgeon who I work with in the institution. He's also vegan. So he understands the healthy part of eating it. He doesn't really preach it as much as we do. But I think it's a reasonable amount of adoption. And some of my colleagues refer patients. There was a colleague of mine who were good friends, we were church members. And I asked him to sign a praise on my book initially. This was in 2011. And he described my diet as controversial. I asked him to remove the word controversial. He refused. So anyway, over the years, I would go to his house, for Super Bowl games and all that. And so he started, recognizing the benefits of the diet. And so he started referring patients to me. Now he's an interventional cardiologist. Now he said anybody that needs a stent or bypass, he tells them you need to go on a plant-based diet. So, people are about these things. And so,
yeah. Okay, well, let's run down some of these questions.
What about CMOS?
Oh, no, we got a whole list of stuff.
Okay.
And I'm looking at Tiani because we have a lot of questions. We may go.
We use CMOS, by the way. We use CMOS, and it's a superfood. It's super nutrients and vitamins and minerals. So CMOS is good.
Okay, we have. Can you please talk about
microbiome? That's an excellent question. So the microbiome is really important. I alluded to that a little bit. I talked about the B12 deficiency. B12 deficiency is not just in people who eat plant-based food. B12 deficiency is fairly universal.
Yeah.
And largely because we don't have the right type of microbiome. The microbiome, think of your body as an ecosystem. You have your skin and all that stuff, but we have bacteria that live on us and in us. And the bacteria live with us. It's our ecosystem. So the microbiome is the bugs. And there are more bugs that live around us than we have our normal cell. And so these bugs are very important. If you have the wrong bugs, then you have the wrong microbiome. You may have heard of superbugs that live in hospitals. If you would go and see a nurse and swab their nose, they would have these, antibiotic resistant bugs. They colonize with bugs that are antibiotic resistant because they're in an environment that's in a hospital. That's why you need to go outdoors, be in the dirt and the mud. I just recently started back working out with my trainer. And instead of working at my gym inside the house, I go out and I'm barefooted with short pants and a t-shirt. And whether it's raining or shining or muddy, I'm out there and I'm dirty, sweaty, in the mud and the dirt because I'm trying to get my microbiome normalized. And so we're inside washing our hands all the time. And so our gut flora, skin flora, these things are off. So the microbiome is very important for digestion, health, cardiac function, and many more things. The immune system is very important. An abnormal microbiome could predispose you to COVID infection and being sick from some infection. So it's very, very important.
Okay, what about, we have a question that we're going to pass on because someone wants to know about your personal life. We'll let you answer that later.
What?
Ebony Davis.
No, Tracy wants to know, is the doc married? Put a little smile.
No, he ain't married. Ebony, that's my daughter, Ebony Davis.
Okay, wait, we got a list. All right, so hold on. Is quinoa considered a complete protein?
A lot of nutritionists say quinoa is a complete protein. It's an excellent food. It's a grain-like food, and it has the essential amino acids. Quinoa is good.
Okay, good. And we have Ebony. My mom needs this therapy here in Ohio immediately. She talks on your program.
So the thing is that the easiest thing to do would be to go on our website, online.montgomeryheart.com. It's an online boot camp class, and there's a lot of videos, and she can go through the detox program. Now, make sure.
No, she needs to come to Houston.
Well, yeah, she can. It depends on how sick she is. So she had immediately. So one option to do it remotely online. If she's very sick and is on a lot of medication, really need close supervision, then yes, coming to Houston would be key. I didn't put out a number, but it's 713-599-1144.
I'm putting it in now.
Yeah, and so 713-599-1144.
Wait, hold on, Doc. Come on, GOMERY. 713. I know.
599.
999 or
599.
599 what?
1144.
144. Okay.
I put it in the private chat also.
Okay. All righty. So let's keep going down the list here. So get your mom there. We have, do you recommend soursop
or moringa?
Yes to both. Yeah, get a good source of soursop. You can use the soursop leaves and steep it as a tea. Moringa is an excellent food, and we use it and put it in smoothies. So yes.
Okay. And Jennifer from Houston, Texas. Well, you could go there, Jennifer. In your car. Are grains healthy? What about carbs?
Yeah, so I mean, healthy grains are healthy. Healthy carbs are healthy. Now but the thing is that, like the grains we like, quinoa is considered a grain. It's not. We like quinoa, buckwheat. These are not, botanically grains, but they're grain-like foods. Wild rice is my favorite as opposed to any other rices. So I like wild rice. We do a sprouted wild rice. Chef Babette knows how to do that. You can put it in the dehydrator and sprout it. It's delicious. You can season it. So wild rice, quinoa, buckwheat are some of the favorite ones.
Furrow, that grain.
Furrow, we don't use a lot of furrow. I'm not saying it's bad. We just don't use a lot, but I think you can probably get away with it.
Okay. We have what's next?
Sea moss capsule. Use a sea moss powder make a sea moss gel and put it in your smoothie. Now, I wouldn't do the capsules.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Stroke recovery or prevention. Again, we have a lot of patients coming for stroke. You want to decrease the amount of inflammation in the body and allow the body the maximum healing. It depends on how severe it is. We tend to put people on raw detoxes if they're recovering from stroke. That decreases inflammation. If there are residual vascular problems, that help those arteries open up. And if they're going through physical therapy and rehab, that helps that process too.
Okay, and we have one of your. Are you still Chef India? You still doing all wrong? And she said.
So Chef India, I'm waiting on those extra recipes. I want you to give me a call, Chef India. I want that. You did a recipe with you did a very succulent. It was a pasta dish, and I really loved it. But after you when you left, I was in the early phase of a 101-day juice feast. And I completed 101 days, and I do mostly raw, still doing cooked. But I'm actually gonna have to convert to raw. I'm still just eating some beans and things, but I'm mostly raw, not there yet. I'm not where you are yet, but I'm working on it.
Okay, great.
But you have a ticket back to Houston. Come and do some more recipes with us.
Do you have an affiliate weight loss program?
Well, affiliate weight loss program. I don't like to call it weight loss program because it's really natural health. And the reason is, I'll put it to you this way. If somebody comes in a pencil thin and if somebody comes in their, BMI is 55, I put them on the same program.
Yeah.
I have patients, one patient is very thin who has an inflammatory lung condition and all of that. And we're treating an inflammatory condition and infection. And we're putting her on raw plant-based foods, mostly raw, and we have other things that we're treating her with. But that's the same way I would treat somebody who's morbidly obese, because the obese person, the increased weight is an adaptation to excess toxin. Right. You build up fat cells to store the toxins in, and so when you detox them, they get rid of the fat cells because they get rid of the toxins.
Wow! So we're going to take one more question before we bring in Tiani. Do you speak at different medical schools? I'm directly connected to 2 of them, along with a number of college and universities.
Yes, I've spoken, and if you want me to speak, you email us at wellness@montgomeryheart.com. Wellness@montgomeryheart.com, and I put that in the email. Those links
at the top. I'm going to put them all down in the scroll again. You can always hit us up on one of the inbox us, and we'll get you the information. Let's bring in our young Tiani. This is our girl on the street. She's going to talk about a little bit, she has some questions for you too. Hello, Tiani.
Hi, everybody.
Because she likes to sparkle.
You're always sparkling in the back.
She likes to
sparkle. No, I told you I got that fairy dust.
Well, anyway.
So this is Dr. Montgomery.
Hello, how you doing?
So Tiani goes out and finds little tidbits for people on the street to learn about some new things. It may not be new for us, but today, what did you want to talk about, Tiani?
Tell us what you know.
I wanted to talk about something. I don't know if you all know about this, but I don't know if you can see.
Pull it back,
just the hair.
Back.
No, it's not.
It's your
it's not showing up.
All right, my fairy dust don't want y'all. It's a surprise, okay? It's jackfruit. So it is jackfruit. And so jackfruit, I don't know if you guys know this,
Is
but
it dried jackfruit?
what I have bought right here is some dried jackfruit because it's kind of hard to find the actual fruit. But you can get this at Costco. And this jackfruit is so good for you. I just realized that it has all the vitamins, vitamin A, B, C, phosphorus, magnesium, and all of this stuff can help with so many things like your mental health. It can help with wrinkles, your own wrinkles. And I know for us ladies out here, we're all about, trying to stay looking good, So this can help with that. It is also known as the largest tree fruit in the world. I did not even know that. And so it has vitamin C in it that also helps fight free radicals. And it also can lower blood pressure. So for people who have high blood pressure, this is very beneficial.
We have the doc here to confirm that.
Right, Doc?
Yes.
Let me hear.
Yeah.
No, jackfruit's excellent. I mean, the thing is that all of these foods have these benefits that you mentioned, and jackfruit is very rich in minerals and various nutrients, and we use jackfruit. The thing I like about jackfruit, I mean, it's a healthy food, so that's important.
Right.
But the real important part about jackfruit is that it has a texture that allows you to replace some of those meat textures. So if you prepare it the right way, you do pulled pork and that type of thing. So that's the beauty of it, because it's a healthy and healthy is important, of course, but also we're trying to convert people to these, from this, dead animal flesh diet. You need to have something to replace that texture. Jackfruit does that.
So what'd you find out, Tiani? What happened?
So I did a little test for y'all, a little behind the scenes type of action. So I actually looked it up earlier. I had bought some, and me and my mom, we were eating this bag from Costco. It's a pretty big size bag. We ate a little bit too much, and I didn't know this, but now I did the test for you guys. It turns out what happened was we ate too much, and our stomach started to hurt a little bit, and we didn't know why. I'm plant-based, my mom is not. So we were like, what's the deal? Turns out the jackfruit is
okay, you gotta catch up to you, honey. You're
frozen.
You're frozen.
Am I there?
You're still like this.
Uh-oh. Let's see. What do I do? How do I fix it?
Go out, come back.
Did it work?
No, it's still weird. It's probably your internet is wonky.
Okay. I don't know.
Well, go out and try to come back in. We're waiting for you.
Go back.
Yeah, we want to hear your jackfruit story.
Do I do that?
No, go completely out and log back, because something is up with your internet. So, Dr. Montgomery, on the jackfruit, do you find that, because I don't prepare jackfruit, I don't know much about it yet, because I'm a kind of a creature of habit. So is there any particular suggestion on that you would tell, people to? No, she's wonky today, baby.
But you got to tell us this story.
I know.
I'm sorry. Is this not working?
Oh, you're there. It's a little weird, but try to keep
But
talking.
just to finish telling us what happened when you ate too much.
I ate too much, and it caused a stomach ache. So I did some research, and it turns out that if you eat too much jackfruit, it actually causes stomach pains, and it can lead to so they say it's indigestion. So that's what happened.
And do you know that to be true, Dr. Montgomery?
Well, if you eat too much anything, it's all stomach pain. But jackfruit, I can do that as well.
Moderation is key, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
Gotta learn
it was tasting so good. You enjoyed it. You paid for it. That's okay.
So let's you can stay on, Tiani. Let's talk a little bit before you go, Dr. Montgomery, about your programs. Share a little bit about the programs and what people have to look forward to when they sign up.
So here's the thing. It's a very comprehensive program. If you have any question, all this is confusing, you can email us at wellness@montgomeryheart.com and to ask any question. My wellness coordinators will get that to me. That's one. You can also call us at 713-599-1144. And again, one of our staff can take a message, and I'll let my staff know to reach out to you, to reach out to me, and we'll get in touch with you. We have an online program, online.montgomeryheart.com. And if you type in Babette, all capital letters, between now and August 4th, which is just a couple of days away, you can get a big discount on the online program if you're not able to come to Houston, you want to try a program online. You can also go to, but I want to invite you to my YouTube channel. I know that's in the chat.
Yeah.
On our YouTube channel, we have a number of shows. There's a lot of information you get. So I would like for everybody on here to go and go on and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I have a Monday night show that comes on every Monday. It's Fresh, Natural, Live. It's not only myself, but other natural healthcare practitioners. We talk about everything from water to air. It's a wonderful show. We bring in other scientists and doctors to talk about different things. And then I have other shows with recipes and nutritional tips. And I'm also starting a new show on the channel I'm going to present patients that I've treated. So that YouTube channel is very, very important, very valuable.
That's going to be great.
Huh?
That's going to be great because people always want to hear from people who've done it. It's like to hear a doctor talk, that's great. And to hear, this is what I did. But to actually, when you're actually sitting with someone who's gone from, I thought I was dead to I'm not dead, and
right.
what I did, that is a game changer. And people, really listen to that.
Yeah, we do that. We do that all the time. And so just make sure they find our YouTube link on the chat. It's too long for me to call out. Or you can just Google my name on the YouTube.
Now again, I'm putting
so But anyway, those are the things I think that would be very helpful. But just go to our website, montgomeryheart.com. You'll get all that information. Wellness at montgomeryheart.com. Ask any question or call us 713-599-1144. But there's a lot of information we have out there, and I think we're here for you.
Okay, Babette, she's something happy.
No, I went to the bathroom.
Oh, okay. She stepped away.
That's the benefits of a plant-based diet. You see?
Yeah, you go to the bathroom.
There you go.
In the middle of the show.
All that fiber, that's good.
Tiani, any questions because Tiani's a new vegan. So any questions you would like for the doctor? Everyone else got a chance to.
I know, right? My turn. Well, Doc, so I just basically went plant-based, and I heard you talk about how quinoa was a really good protein, you said. And so what about for people who have certain food allergies? Like, does that come into effect when it comes to quinoa, such as pollen, for example?
If you're allergic to something, just avoid it. That's what we typically have our patients do at the very beginning. Oftentimes, these allergies are not really allergies. They may be adverse reactions due to the fact that your gut's not in normal shape, et cetera. But the simple thing to do is avoid it at first and then clean your system out. And if you want to try to introduce it later, you can. We've done that with patients with close observation and what have you. You have to determine if it's a true allergy or if it's just an adverse reaction. Maybe my stomach gets sick or I belch a lot. So people have adverse reactions to food for different reasons, not just because it's an allergic reaction to the food. But the simple thing to do is avoid it at first.
Okay.
Get your system, because you may not have the right microbiome. Somebody asked about the microbiome. Some people don't digest food very well. So there are a lot of varieties. We get patients with inflammatory bowel disease or irritable bowel disease. We have to put them on juices and smoothies to let the bowel heal before we then put them on regular plant food. So there are a lot of factors involved in that.
Oh, that's so interesting.
I'd like to say this to you right quick. I appreciate you and what you're doing for all of us.
Gosh.
So very much, because you're true with it. You're honest. I've worked with you before, and that's why I really wanted to have you on the show so everybody could meet you. Continue doing the work that you're doing. What is Jen saying?
I don't know. Well, we have more questions.
I know we have so many questions. I told you guys this was going to be a great show.
One other. Do you recommend enemas?
Yeah. So the enemas we recommend sort of as an adjunct to it. We've also prescribed some colonics for patients as an adjunct to a healthy diet. So really, these things are add-ons. It depends on how your body reacts to an initial detox and cleanse. You don't always need it. And so the thing is that, okay, let's see what you need, and then we can go from there. So we have used it before in limited fashion.
Can you just read Jen?
Jen is a statement. That's why. Amazing to hear this from an MD. My doctors during my last pregnancy kept telling me to eat meat, even though this was my first pregnancy without gestational diabetes and completely plant-based.
Yeah, there's a Dr. Greger presents. He's a video I saw a while back where they actually did a study using animal protein in Black women, pregnant Black women, and they thought by increasing the amount of animal protein it would make things better. Actually, the ones that ate the regular diet with the regular amount of animal protein did better than people that had added animal protein. They had more pregnancy complications and more birth defects and all of that by adding more animal protein. So a plant-based diet is really ideal for somebody pregnant or not pregnant. And American Dietetic Association recognizes that. So plant-based diet itself is not only is it safe, but it's healthy and preferable than the regular diet.
Okay, this is going to really be our last question. What are some recommendations for a plant-based breastfeeding mom?
Eat plants and breastfeed the baby. No, seriously, you want to just eat a lot and nourish the body, and then you can eat more seeds and raw nuts, raw seeds. I would lean more toward a raw diet. Chef India is probably on the line. A raw, minimally processed diet is going to be best if you're going to cook the foods, boil or steam at most. But you really want to consume a plant diet and your body will do what it needs to do. So I don't think there's anything special that you have to do.
Yeah, well,
processed vegan food, that's the key.
Yeah, she wants to thank you. We need more MDs talking like you, especially in our medical schools and universities. Absolutely, because we just keep passing down the medications. I can't tell you how many people have said to me, well, we have this in our family. It's like, well, y'all have this. I'm not having this, and I don't have it.
Right.
We have high blood pressure.
You are so spot on with that, because I had been told younger, wait till you do this. Oh, you'll blow up once you do this, and when you do this, and when you get this age, none of it happened because I became plant-based in 1990, and that's been it's 2020 now. Ain't it 20?
I don't know.
And a few other comments I want to throw in there till the end for your audience. Healthy, natural, plant-based diet is important. Fresh air, sunshine is extremely important.
Yes, move.
Here's something we're doing, something new, and I've been doing more research, and later I may come and talk about it. Check your water. A lot of the water in these municipalities have lots of toxins in them. We did water testing in Houston. I had to spend a lot of money on a whole house water filter. A lot of these water has radiation, medication, et cetera, et cetera. So, and it's not, and you may be drinking filtered water, but if you're showering in it and you're cleaning, it is getting in your system. So the water is the added thing that's going to be a toxin. So
I'm just frustrated because it's like you can't do anything. It's like
yeah.
And the poor people, if you can't afford a whole house water filter, you're gonna kill.
We'll talk about that. Plus air. Don't mention the air. Put the ultraviolet and air scrubbers in the central air units here, and it kills bacteria, viruses, and the like. And then radon. Have your house checked for radon, radiation, and things like that. So these are extra things. Now it's not. Absolutely. I mean, it all varies from person to person. That's why you want to nourish the body with lots of antioxidants, seaweed, sea moss, these things. So if these things get in your system, your body has an antioxidant to fight them off. So anyway.
That just made me so depressed. Doctors make sure you breathe when you go outside. Don't drink the water. Now, if you drink the water, get some water from the store. Don't take a shower, so you might stink. So go get yourself, because you got to spray it on yourself so that you. Oh my God. Anyway, I know people still want to ask questions. At some point, we'll have to have you back.
We gotta have you back. Will you come back? Will you come back?
This was so informative.
This was great.
I enjoyed it. This is so much fun.
So much. Thank you so much, Tiani. Any last words?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So cute. And make sure you follow Dr. Montgomery, and make sure you go to all of his pages. I'm going to now put it again at the bottom. Remember, we have Reclaim Haven coming up for all of you, workshops, and we want to do mind, body, and spirit. So it's not just about what you put in. You can be the healthiest vegan, but if your mind is crappy, you'd be a crappy, healthy looking vegan, and nobody still want to be around you. So it's about nourishing and taking care of the whole being, so that, you know, like when you said you go outside, you get in the mud and all that stuff. Yeah, make sure your minds are not muddy.
That's another part of intake, what you read and what you look at. People looking at the news and they're getting all this stuff.
I don't bother. I can't be bothered with it.
Yep.
Right.
So thank you so much, Dr. Montgomery. Tiani,
We love you.
Thank you,
sweetie.
everyone.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good one. We'll sign off. Have a good one. Thank you very much. Take care.
So great. This was
Anyway, thank you all for coming again. We welcome you. And
Oh
thank you
yes,
for coming
thanks,
to
y'all.
She's
Wasn't this a great show?
This was a
though?
great
I just
show.
love this show.
And next week we have Dr.
Oh yeah,
Dr. Goldner.
lupus.
So if you know anyone with lupus,
Dr. Goldner, you want to be here
you want to
next
be
week.
here. This is our physician, whether it's
This sister is
nutrition.
on point.
She's cured herself from lupus and helps
And
others
curing
with lupus.
others.
So join us next week as well. And then after that, I think we have a masseuse who's going to talk about the importance of that. And then we have a nutritionist. So we're
for
going
the
to
month of August.
For the month of August. So we're
Great.
covering all different types
Got
of.
y'all. We got y'all.
We got you. See you guys next week.
All right, bye y'all. Be safe.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Mwah.
Now how do I get out of here? See, this is always the end of our show when I don't know what to press end broadcast.